Hi. Yes, we're active. Hi, hi, hi. How are we today? Yes. Today, okay, fuck this. I don't want to look nerdy. Let's look less nerdy, I guess. So, uh, acting daily is a relationship with reacting, reaction, not to book. Fuck me, dude, man. Like, there are some times I really need to, like, read what I have before I actually attempt to start the video. Mode of interacting. The relationship and their training stages. Oh, okay, so Heidi, I think this was I think one of those videos where I kind of like elaborated on something and I took a note in between. I have no idea what video it is. So let's try to do something about it. Mode of interacting. When I'm talking about a mode of interacting, I'm talking about how basically of a certain set of engagement principles, maybe, because I'm thinking mode from a musical perspective, and there's basically there are scales, and there are ways to play the scales, and I think the ways to play the scales are called modes. And mode of interacting are a set of principles and how you're able to like engage with somebody and basically then the relationship and the training stages of the relationship because ultimately you have to build on top of something, you have to establish some sort of base before you start slowly forming a relationship, whatever it may be, friendship, love, brotherhood, professional, really you can just like explain, I don't know, man. Interacting with people is easier than we think, but I don't know if it's throughout our increasing involvement with society, it distances us from individual people. Because like society on its own self kind of like interacts in groupings. You see always like you barely when you see one-on-ones, it's like people that are either getting to know each other or that are kind of like that already know each other and kind of recapping or something like this. Most of the time, you're either going to see groupings of people, there's like five, six of them, like old friends and whatever, or you're going to see individuals. And when you see individuals, that's like it's a good sign and a dangerous sign. Good sign because individuals are awesome. Dangerous sign because they're comfortable enough to be in society without people. So that without people around them. So that kind of like say hi to Sanfura. So that kind of like throws in one of those like who are you kind of thought process. But I don't know, man. I got a comment from somebody today that it's uh, it's a bit difficult to approach people. He was talking about women, and I don't know. I can't actually like give advice when it comes to that because we each have our preferences, and I don't have a problem approaching women. I just don't care to approach them. So most of the time, I just kind of like start random conversations with people and completely continue doing my thing. And in my head, that establishes a certain point of connection that we either get back to or no. But having this conversation, what happened is yesterday we discussed, or yesterday's videos, we discussed building an actual like bridge of some sorts while interacting with people because we were discussing the three ways of assimilating with somebody. Again, building a relationship, I'm always assuming it's a one-on-one. That's the hardest, that's the one that's most kind of like relevant, and those are the ones that actually allow us to explore ourselves because being able to be open with somebody and naturally being open with somebody does not really mean letting yourself go. It just means that you have something next to you, somebody next to you that you're able to kind of like trust will be there. And sometimes that's more than enough. Like most of the people that I actually trust don't really know anything about me, and I don't really know anything about them. but there's like a certain kind of like familiarity behind just their existence in my life and my existence in their life, and a reliability. And when I say don't really know anything about them, I do know a lot about them. But like I don't really have to know what they're doing in the day, right? I don't really have to know what kind of things they're struggling with and when it comes to like other people. What matters is me and them and how we engage with each other, which also kind of like, I don't know, opens up doors to a whole lot of drama. See, I'm a cynic I think by nature. I've been skeptical about this for a long time, maybe. And now I'm trying to actually make sense out of all of this vocally and out loud. What are the modes of interaction and how can we, what are the stages that could be the training of the relationship? And it's funny because I say training, but like everyone probably is thinking right now testing. I don't think it's fair for anyone to to actually implement tests on their own in regarding the relationships that you're trying to build with people. But I really think it's those moments where you actually realize that you are able to rely on someone that make the difference. The shame behind it is sometimes you find them reliable and other times you find them unreliable. You also have to be very much objective about what kind of relationship do you want and what kind of relationship they're able to give you. I think that's a bit stronger, like the strength behind it. But how would you build a relationship with somebody? How would you allow yourself to engage with them? How would you take your time and pace yourself, knowing full well things could be exciting and things could be scary? Most of the time, people are, can we say good? I don't want to say good because that's very much like it's relative. I think ultimately, if we look at what the people we're building a relationship with, of what it is they do, how they do things, and how they talk about it. What it is they do, how they do it, how they do it, and how they talk about it. We'll be able to understand, at the very least, the basic angles of why we're approaching them or why we might be interested in having a relationship. With everything that happens around us, I think the last thing we want is to completely just allow ourselves to be swayed by others. And it's not necessarily the bad people that exist around us, because there is bad in this world. There are self-centered people, there are people that only consider their own selves and won't mind taking advantage of people that are reaching out and trying to kind of like explore the world differently. But I think it's very important to understand that there are some people that also would just pull you into their own world and you find yourself very much distracted from yours and you lose yourself. And most of these people are older friends, for example, older relationships. And in a weird way, I would like describe them as, I don't know, as an old plumbing system that no longer works. It's clogged at different places, but you're hoping anytime you flush, it doesn't actually explode on itself. The last thing you want to do is change the pipes, and also the last thing you would want is for the entire like house to be flooded with shit. But we'd only notice that the people that we're actually with are not really supporting our movement, our growth, when we start smelling the shit around us and going like, why am I accepting to live this way? A lot of people talk about this, and it has nothing to do with them. It's just like a lot of people are a lot stronger when it comes to where they are, especially when it comes to people like us, maybe, or me at least, because I am always moving to where I want to be. But a lot of people are just completely like content with where they are. They're satisfied. And most of them, would extract that satisfaction from others people's kind of like existence around them. And I noticed that with a family member of mine, very close one, direct one, right? But ultimately, anytime I discuss stuff that are a bit further than his world, instead of reading about them and coming back to me in order for us to kind of like move in that direction, he effectively would stop any kind of conversation of that sort and revert to the basic stuff that we always talk about. Even when we tried to work together, even when we tried to kind of like connect, even when we tried to discuss just personal stuff, it's always the same. And it becomes very exhausting to try to not be an asshole while trying to kind of like step away. But lucky for us, and I'm sure every single person has gone through this, there comes a point where they act like dicks because we're no longer kind of like responsive the way they would like. And it's basically like a narcissistic trait that starts appearing in them. Why aren't you giving me attention anymore? Why am I not feeling the same when it comes to you anymore? And that's basically their response. And building a relationship, I think, is a lot more than just accepting how a relationship is or trying to patch one that already exists. I don't know what the modes of interacting with people are, man, but it feels like there's a lot of ways where we can go wrong. And this video probably is about that instead of how we can interact better. But hey, what they do, how they do it, and how they talk about it, I think that's kind of like something interesting to look at for next time I open this conversation. Yay!